Coding challenge review. Expert. Very first time we are reviewing the expert challenge. So let's see how it goes. Question number 1. What do we got here, guys, on question number 1? So first of all, calculate total. So we start with recursion. Boom, right? The first question. Right. So you know what recursion means? So recursion means going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until some condition is met, and then going back, right? Like Matrix or like Inception, right? This kind of process. It's a bit of mind-blowing at the beginning. The good thing about recursion is, generally speaking, once you manage to understand how it works, then you know all the questions are pretty much the same.
Are we saying the function calling itself?
Yes, correct. So it's recursion means a function is calling itself until some condition is met. So this is a good example. Look how simple the question is, right? Calculate total. Just add all the numbers. Easy. 1 plus -2 plus 4 plus 3. So technically speaking, you know, it feels it's very simple, but it's not. It's not. Because we don't know the details of the object we are dealing with. We have 3 examples. Every different example has different sub-objects. It's not that simple, right, to loop over the object. This is a great example of when recursion is vital. So with recursion, we can say, okay, this is the object, fair enough. Then check the values of the object. This is the first value. Is it a number? Yes, it's a number. Okay, keep it, save it. Next value. Is it a number? No. It's an object. No problem at all. Use recursion. Invoke calculate total again, focusing on the highlighted object, right? So then on the highlighted object, again, same process. Get the values. Is this a number? Yes. Okay, save it. I got 1 and -2. Then 4. Is it a number? Yes, save it. Okay, I got 1 -2, 4. Next iteration. Value 3. Is it a number? Yes, save it. 1 -2, 4, 3, and then obviously we can add them all easily. So let's do that. Calculate total. I'm going to call the argument object because I have no idea what type of data I'm dealing with, right? It's just an object. Cool. So what I would like to do is to use reduce to keep a reference to the total. So return. How do I access the values of an object? Correct. We don't care about the keys, right? Just the values. So then we got the values, and then we'll simply use reduce. The first argument, which is the accumulator, I'm going to call it total, and the second argument is the value. Nothing strange so far, right? Everything is pretty expected, pretty predictable, right? Now, that's the important thing. Now, I need to check if value is a number or not. Or in other words, let me check if it's an object. How do we check if the type of a variable is an object? Type of. Correct. Beginner training, right? Starting from yesterday. Cool. Return type of value equals object. So we'll do something in a minute. Let's focus on the final case, right? If its value is not an object, that means it's a number according to the spec, then we need to calculate total plus value, right? So whatever the total was plus the current value, that will be passed to the next iteration. And now, that's the problem. What happens if we have an object? Well, we need to put total again whatever the total was, plus, and now that's the complex. That's the only mind-blowing line in this entire exercise. We need to invoke the same function, passing the value. You say recursion. I have a function, and the function invokes itself, right? So that eventually, if we don't take some kind of caution here, we may end up having an infinite loop, right? A function invokes the same function, a function invokes the same function. That's why that expression if is very important, because at some point we will have a pure number. Once we have a number, we don't want to keep looping. There is nothing else to drill down. That should be pretty much it. Let's see if it works. Yeah, it does work, right? That's probably one of the simplest usages of recursion. Question number 3, I believe, was a bit more complicated. Any question?
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because it's very powerful. With this algorithm, we don't care how the object looks like. We don't care if it's an object with a nested subobject, if this nested subobject has 1, 2, 3 properties. We don't care. This is absolutely dynamic. As far as we deal with objects and values, that will do the trick. Let me see what you did here. Daniel, so reduce, it's pretty much the same thing. He did it on the other way around, right? Instead of checking if it's a number, if it's an object, he's checking if it's a number, which is the same thing, right? So if he got a number, then add the value to the total. If not, then invoke calculate total again. So that's pretty much the same thing, right? And then more, same thing. So more was literally the same thing as Daniel. I suggest you guys to use the ternary operator, right? Just simplifies the code a bit. But apart from that, yeah, that was pretty much it. So any question, anyone? No?
What if there's what if there is no data on the second level? Is it broken?
If there is no data on?
There's no number values.
Yeah.
You know that this only works for two levels down. First level, second level.
No. That works with 1,000,000 levels down.
Really?
Infinite.
So if it's 3 levels down, it's still works.
Of course. Yeah. This is completely dynamic. As far as we find an object, we'll drill down. So we don't care if we have 1 level down, 3 levels down, 20 levels down. It will always work.
Is there a limited call stack available?
Yeah, there is a limit call stack, but I'm not sure what it is, like 5,000 or something like that. So
should we factor in that when we do sort of, bigger ones?
I think if your object has 5,000 levels of levels down, probably we have problems somewhere else, right? Our data model is a bit hell. Right. So let's have a look to question number 2. That's a classic question on Expert. That's a classic question. That question used to belong to intermediate, but because I found some people struggle dealing with it, I moved it to Expert. But again, this is a typical question that once you do it right, is a piece of cake. So divide by next number. So it's not that obvious to understand what the expectations are here, guys. So we got a number, 6, and we got another number, 3. So we need to divide its number by the next one. 6 divided by 3, 2. And then on the last number, just leave it as it is. We should round the division. 4 divided by 3, 1 point something, right? We round it to 1. 3 divided by 8, 0 point something. We round it to 0. 8 divided by 1, 8. 1, 1. Right? So it's a bit strange. Interestingly, not even the function. Say it again? Very interesting. Everywhere. Very. Yeah. It is very interesting. I said.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I don't understand where you're supposed to understand that you wanted to
there's two separate numbers there in the first one. You said 6 and then 3.
Yeah, 6 and 3.
Yeah.
So we need to divide 6 by 3.
But how is that described?
Yeah, it's there, it's there. It's at the bottom.
Oh, I see. So
What's the, yeah, we got the instructions, right? I'm skipping the instructions. Cool, guys, we don't even have any function, so unfortunately, or not unfortunately, I think it's a good exercise to type these things, right, by ourselves. Otherwise, we forgot how to type functions. So divide by next number. Right? If we fail on the function name, it doesn't matter how good we are afterwards. We will fail, right? So divide by next number. Divide by next number. Yeah, that's correct. You see, that's a trick I used to follow to make sure I don't misspell the function name. I search it, right? And if it's there, that means that, you know, it's okay. Cool. So I receive a number, but in reality, my number is a bit special because it's a string. It's a string. This is very important. So whenever we deal with data that looks like something but is something else, I tend to do something like that, a string number. It's a good way to remember myself. Please be careful because there is a number on it, but it's not a number strictly speaking. So this let's try to do it in one go, in one statement. Return string number. I want to access each individual digit. So how I want to create an array of individual digits. How do we do that? Split. That's correct, Rafa. Dot split. Empty string, right? And then reduce. That's the important thing. So with reduce, first of all, my first variable, this is the accumulator, call it result. And then the second one is the digit, right? Or string digit. Still a string, right? Cool. So now, essentially, I want to create an array of number 2 and then number 3. An array of number 1, and then number 0, and then number 8, and then number 1, right? I want to create an array. But then I want to join the array, right? Because I want to return a number. So how do we join an array? Dot join, correct. Empty string again. And on top of that, that will return me what type of data join returns? Wrong. String, correct. Correct, but we receive a number. How do we transform a string into a number? Number. Number or %? Correct. 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 Again, once again, look at how am I narrowing the issue, right? I'm not following a chronological order. I'm just creating the skeleton. And then I'll focus on the meat, on the chicken of the exercise, which is line number 5. All the complexity is here, right? Cool. So then, now the deal is, I need to divide one number by the next one. So I got the number, string digit. I can even transform it to a number, easy. How do I access the next number? We've learned that this morning. To access the next number, we need the index and we need the array, right? At the moment, we have none of that, but we can pass a third argument with the index, because then we can do index plus 1, right? Index plus 1 of what? Of the array. If you don't put that fourth argument, unless you have created a variable before, it's not possible to access the array, because we have literally created the array a second ago, one line above, right? So then, generally speaking, what I want to do is I want to return number string digit divided, oh sorry, let me change that, no. So essentially we want to return the result and then we want to push something. So I'm going to create a new variable, whatever, and then I'll push that, right? Again, I'm narrow. Yeah?
Why do we need to use an array and push it? Why can't we just build a concatenated?
Yeah. Absolutely. You can concatenate a string. Again, there are multiple ways to solve the problem. I tend to transform everything into an array because I feel very comfortable working with arrays. But yes, of course, you can create a string and then concatenate characters at the end, no problem at all. So, my new digit. Essentially, I want to divide, I want to transform to a number, my current digit. Actually, I want to round it, right? Math.round, the result of dividing my number and the next one. How do we get the next number?
Index plus 1. Array. Index plus 1.
Array index plus 1. Will this work? Index plus what? Plus plus. No. Index will automatically update on every iteration. We don't need to increase it. Can you tell me if a string number, let's put an example here. If we got 63, so what will be the first digit? 6. What will be the next one? 3. What will be the result of the dividing 6 and 3? Who said 3? It's 2, correct.
We need to put a condition for the last digit.
Yeah, that's the problem now. That's correct. So now, next iteration. What's the value of a string digit? 3, correct. What's the value of a string digit plus 1?
Unknown, undefined.
Ooh, there's nothing on the right-hand side, right? We need to control that. According to the exercise, on the last digit, because there is nothing else on the right, just leave it as it is. You see? Last digit is respected. Because of that, as Bella suggested, we need to control that. We need to say, A, is the last index? In other words, is index equals array.length minus 1? If it's the last index, then we just want to return the number as it is. Number string digit. Otherwise, else, if it's not the last one, then we need to do the division. And I think that's pretty much it. Let's see if it works. Cool. Whoa, sorry, I did a comment on top. Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, we got an elegance issue, but now all good, right? That was perfectly. So this is a classic question on the expert. It looks a bit complicated, but it's the same thing again and again. We got a string, we transform it into an array. Eventually, because we want another string back or a number or something like that, at the end we do the join thingy, and then in between is where we do the magic, right? So the complexity sits here. That's the complexity of the problem. We need to check, if it's the last element of the array, then just add it as it is. If not, if it's, for example, index number 0, then divide it by the next one. Any question? What you did here. So let's have a look. Question number 2. So Daniel, he's iterating on the string, and so it says if there is nothing on the right hand side, there is nothing plus 1, then concatenate that character. But if there is something on the right hand side, ooh, whoa, what's that, Daniel? That's a copy paste, right? Is that a copy paste, Daniel? Say again?
Yes, I find it.
You see, last time, that's the classic thing, right? The very first time I asked someone, did you copy that from Stack Overflow? No. Okay, explain it to me. The second time, yes, I copied, right? Right, that's wrong, Daniel. That's wrong, especially because what you want to do is something easy, right? You just want to divide one number by the next one. You don't need these things, right? You don't need that. Cool. And then Mo, so he splits and then he uses map. Oh, I collapsed the code. Can I collapse the? I didn't notice I can collapse the code here. I don't know how I've done that. Probably will never happen again. Cool. So Mo, right? So he gets individual characters, and then am I on the last one? Then return it as it is. If not, just do the division. You see, my only concern about Mo's solution is indentation is literally horrible. It's absolutely wrong. Look at the line. It's like floating in the middle of nowhere, right? So that's wrong, Mo. That should be clearly aligned here, right? Right. Any question, guys, about this problem? No?
So Ricardo, what's the better method? Should reduce or map?
So I think both are equally valid, right? Map makes sense because you don't want to change the size of the array. You have an array of 2 elements, you want an array of 2 elements. I accept that. Yeah. I'm not opinionated here, Mo. I find map completely valid. My only concern is just about the indentation, right? Also look here on the if-else. So these things, they go, I'm pretty sure you got a penalty here on the elegance because these things, they go on the right-hand side. Yeah, the ternary operator elements, they go on the right, not at the beginning of a new line. Cool, question number 3. I think that was the most complicated one. Again, recursion, right? Again, a function that invokes itself. And as I said this morning, I tried to solve it. It didn't work. Then obviously I found a way to solve it, but I still don't understand why my first idea didn't work at all. But then I'll use the second one because it works, right? So exists number in object. Again, very easy, right? Functionally speaking, we have a number, and we just want to see if the number is part of the object. One of the exotic things about recursion is that, generally speaking, the equations are very simple, are very easy to grasp, right? It's very, you can quickly determine what's going on. Not like the previous one, modulus, remainder, all these things are a bit more complex. This is trivial to understand. But then, it's not that simple to solve. So, we received 2 arguments. First of all, number and object. So we want to see if the number is part of the object. Again, I'm going very similar to the first exercise. So I would like to return, we want to check the values, right? So how do we check the values of an object? Correct. We got that part of the list. Yeah. And then, here, I want to use recursion. To use recursion, I will use reduce, because I want to iterate. To try to find the number, right? So I'm going to assume the number doesn't exist. So if at some point I find it, I'll change the value of the accumulator, right? But by default, I'll assume it doesn't exist. So then the next argument is the value, I believe. So then, right, what's the default value of the reduce? Wrong. Why 0? Wrong. False. I said that I'm going to assume, because by definition a number is not part of a collection, right? Unless we find it, right? It's like, do I have a coin on my pocket? By default, I don't have any coin. If I do have a coin, I will have to find it, right? Cool. So then, the plan is, again, the same thing, return type of value. Let's see if it's an object. So if it's an object, I'll do something. Otherwise, I know it's a number. So if it's a number, I want to check if value equals number. Kind of. You see? So if I got a number, then okay, I will return exists will be true if value equals a number. Otherwise, it will get false. But if it's an object, I need to invoke the same function again, passing the same number, and then this sub-object, which is the value. So that's the idea, but that won't work correctly. Because what happened, look at this example, not this one, the second one, correct. In this example, we'll look for the value. It's here, no. Is there? Yes. So at some point, we'll change the value of the accumulator from false to true, which is correct, but we'll continue looking for the values. So then, even if it's true, eventually we'll say, okay, but now we got 3. Is 5 equals to 3? No, it will return false. So in other words, as soon as we change the value of exists from false to true, we don't care anymore, right? That's it. It exists. It doesn't matter what comes next on the object. So then, the way to solve it, we can do something like that. Essentially, we want to say, okay, please, if it exists, if exists equals true, then just return it. If it doesn't exist, then keep looking, right? Keep researching. So we can do something like that. So here what we say is, imagine that we got a number. This is exists set to true already. If it was set to true, what true or something returns? That's correct. True or something returns true, right? So if it exists, the right-hand side won't be even evaluated. It will be ignored. And the same thing here, right? If we found it already and now we have a nested object, we don't care. We literally don't care. If I found it, return true. Ignore whatever comes next. Right, so let's see if that works. It does work. It does work. It does work. What I tried this morning, and I'm not 100% sure why it didn't work, is because we are, in both conditions we have exists or. I tried to put it here, right? Does it make sense? Just to make it a bit simpler, right? Exist or whatever. But that didn't work, and to be honest, I don't know why yet. Let me try again. You see? Oh, the semicolon, no. So that's a separate thing. Oh, now it works. I did something wrong probably. Okay, yeah. So that would be my preferred approach because it's a bit easier to read, right? Say, hey, if I got it, yes, shut up, right? I don't mind, just stop, don't do anything else. If I didn't found it yet, then fair enough, let's check the details. Is it an object? Then drill down. Is it a number? Okay, then we'll check the value to true if they are equal, right? Any question? Are you sleeping, Aisel?
This is recursion.
That's recursion, yes.
It's recursion because the function is
Correct. Right. So you didn't solve it. Actually, but that Daniel is interesting because Daniel got the idea, more or less, right?
Yeah.
Was trying to check.
The second one is also called like a binary.
Yeah, that was one of the most complex ones on the expert, right? Next one. Are equal. Oof. Look how many. So it's interesting because depending on how you understand the question, there are so many, well, not so many, but there are at least 3 different ways to solve that problem. So you have 2 objects, and we want to see if they are equal. The way to check whether they are equal is in terms of values. So we want to see if the values are the same, regardless of the order. So for example, which values do we have on the left-hand side? 1 and 2. which values do you have on the right hand side? 1 and 2, they're equal, right? Here, which values do you have on the left hand side? 2 and 2. Which values do you have on the right hand side? 1 and 2, they are not equal. You got the idea? Right?
Yes, although just like, does it matter if the keys are?
No, the keys don't matter. Use, no, the keys are ignored. Just the values.
Okay.
We want to see if they have the same values. Right. So we receive two objects, right? Object 1 and object 2. Right. So how do you access the values of object 1?
Object.values.
Correct. Object.values, object 1. You know that we can easily copy lines like that, right? It's, if you're a Mac user, no, it's Alt-Shift down or up. And also, it's Alt-Shift down, correct. It's the same as Visual Studio. I'm just using the same shortcuts as Visual Studio, right? So that's the first one. And then for the second one, the same thing. That's not perfect yet, but hey, at least I got the values. So something I can assume is that if the, and this is a bit controversial, I reckon, but according to this set of questions, if the length of the arrays are different, they are not the same. So look at this example. You see? So if they have different length, they are not the same. So we can do return object 1 values dot length equal object 2 values dot length. So that's the first condition, the first thing. If they are not the same, that will return false. And then what? So then what I would like to do is I would like to loop over the first set of values and check if on this, if that value is also on the second object. So we can do object 1 values dot reduce. So then we can have a variable here are the same. So in that case, I'm going to assume they are the same. So if they are not the same, I'll change them. And then object 1 value. So because I'm assuming they are the same, so I hope we can do return are the same and the value is the same as this value on the same index on the other object. So I want to compare index 0 in both objects, index 1 in both objects, index 2 in both objects, and so on. How do we access the index of the object 2? Correct. Correct. So then we can do that, right? Does it make sense? What do you think?
Just, yeah, the one thing is, say the object,
Yep.
say the arrays which have in the values weren't ordered the same.
No, that's a good point. That's actually a good point. That's actually a good point. That's what I wanted to mention next. What happened? Look at the second. Okay, let's have a look at the first example. Essentially, are the arrays of the same length? Yes. What's the length of the array? 2. That's correct. Correct. So then let's compare index 0. What's the value on the left array? On index 0? 1. What's the value of the same index on the second array? Are they the same? Okay, next iteration. What's the value on the first array on the second iteration? And what's the equivalent on the right-hand side? Are the same? Okay, so that's return true, right? But what happened on the second case? Let's try that. Right, so some typos. Yeah, I need to close the return parentheses, right? Yeah. Okay. Unexpected token. Where is? Yeah, it's wrong. Right. Look at what happened. It looks correct, but bad. Right? You see why, right? Even though the numbers are the same, in different order. So why my suggestion here is to sort the arrays to make sure that they respect the same order. Look, we can do that. Something as simple as, that's it. We don't even need any arguments. We could add arguments and then order them ascendingly or descendingly. But to be honest, I don't even care. I don't even care if that even works correctly or not, depending on if we have numbers or strings. I want to apply the same algorithm in both sides. So if it's correct, it will be always correct. Even if it's wrong, it will be consistently wrong. So it still does the trick, right? And then if we try again, it does work. Yeah? Yeah, it's a hack. No, why a hack? No. So that's how sort works. If you don't pass any argument to sort, JavaScript will try its best to sort the elements, right? If you pass, for example, a pure array of numbers, it will sort the array ascendingly, right? So that will work perfectly on the first examples. Talking about the strings, we got a string, but yeah, that will sort the strings alphabetically probably. So still okay, right? We are not strict if it's ascending or descending. We don't care. We just want to make sure it's the same thing everywhere, right? So even though that's correct, that will fail if, for instance, what happened if on the first example we have another key on the right hand side, c equals 2. Technically speaking, the values are the same, right? On the left hand side, we will just ones and twos. And on the right hand side, we have ones and twos. But that won't work because the arrays will have different size. Well, because if I have A and B on the left, length is 2. If I got A, B, and C on the right-hand side, length is 3. According to this algorithm, that wouldn't work. Even though I'm not going to explain that at the moment, because there will be other opportunities to talk about that, the way I will solve the problem is by removing the duplicates. Have you ever heard about set? In JavaScript, there is something new, modern JavaScript, very interesting, called new set. Right? You pass an array and returns a new array is with unique values. That is important because it's something like an array, but it's not an array. Anyway, we'll talk about how to deal with new set.
But if there were 3 keys in the object,
Yeah.
then you wouldn't want, that's not the same as an object with 2 keys, is it?
It depends on the question. If the question is, they need to be the same size, then that's fine. But if the question is, if the number is duplicated, just check if the numbers, correct, yeah? So that depends on the question, but that could be a valid question as well, right? Cool, so that works fine. Did anyone solve that one? No. Cool, so question number,
I record it.
Yeah.
Before we move.
yeah.
So once we did the object dot values and sort,
Yeah.
why can't we just use JSON.stringify to compare?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's a good point. Yeah, I believe you can use stringify once you sort it. Again, that will have the same issue if we have the same number multiple times, right?
Well, then that's more an exist comparison as opposed to equal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I'm sure there will be a way to solve it using a stringify after, of course, after sorting the arrays. Voilà. Yes. Yeah, as I said, there are multiple ways to solve the problem. So yeah, that will be something quite interesting to evaluate, indeed. I mean, generally speaking, it's considered a bad practice to use Stringify, because first of all, is from a performance point of view, is very slow, and then Stringify is very sensitive. It's very sensitive, right? So, yeah. Yeah. Right. We ran out of out of electricity.
Just in perfect time.
Yeah. However, we're still recording. So can you connect to the YouTube streaming? We do just one question. So let's finish that. Right. And let's do question number 5. Right, so assuming that you are connecting to the live stream, question number 5 is arguably the simplest question on the entire expert training. And because of a reason, people still struggle with it. So, we have a list of bus stops. We have an array. So for each stop, we know how many people, entered the bus and how many people left the bus, right? So as the second argument, we have, this is how many people was at the end of the journey. So based on that, we want to determine how many people was at the beginning of the journey, on the very first step, on the very first stop. Right, so if we got 7 and all these details, we want to return 10. Can you see the streaming, guys? Okay, cool, brilliant. So the thing is, that's pretty simple, actually. It's just about thinking how should we write the algorithm. So the only thing we need to do is, if at the end we got 7, the people we'll get at the beginning will be 7 plus people that left the bus minus people that entered the bus. Look, 7, because the thing is, if 4 people left the bus, it's because at some point there were at least 4 people inside of the bus, right? So 7 plus 4 minus 0, 11. 11 plus 2, 13, minus 3, 10. Right? You can read it on the other way around. If at the beginning of the journey you got 10 people, if 3 people enter the bus, got 13 plus 2 left, so got 1 more people, right? 11. On the second stop, no one came into the bus, but 4 left. So instead of 11, at the end we got 11 minus 4, which is 7. So again, the algorithm is fairly trivial, but obviously we need to spend some time thinking about how to deal with the algorithm. So, function initial bus passengers. Is there any typo on the function name?
Initial bus.
Yes. What was that, Aisel?
Initial bus passengers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct, right?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Cool. So then we got an array of stops, and then we got a final, so final passengers. So I'm simply going to use reduce. Actually, final passengers, a string, because that's a string, right? We got a string? Yes, we got a string. So I would like to return stops.reduce. So we got stop. No, that's not the stop. That's the initial passengers, and then the stop, right? So then, for each stop, as I said, we want to return whatever the passengers were plus people that left the bus, stop.out, minus people that joined it. And we should be careful with a couple of things. First of all, we're dealing with strings, right? So we should convert everything into a number. That's the first thing. So number yeah. So what's the default value of my reduce loop? To me, the default value will be the final passengers. Right? So in other words, what I'm saying here is start the loop, final passengers is 10. So then do 10 plus 2, 12, minus 3. No, not 10, sorry, 7, excuse me. I read it the other way around. So the first initial, the final passengers is 7, right? So here what we do is 7 plus 2, 9, minus 3, 6. And then on the next iteration, the accumulator is 6, 6 plus 4, 10, minus 0, 10. And I think that's pretty much it. That will return, what type of data will this return? String, number, Boolean, array? A number, correct. That will return a number. However, we want a string. How do you transform a number into a string? To a string. That's correct. That's correct. So we can do to string, right? Will this work? I don't know. Let's have a look. Right. Typo. What is the typo, guys? Reduce. Oh, I didn't close the return, right? That's it. Let's try again. And now it works. So you can see that the question was actually quite simple. It was just about finding the correct algorithm. So what Daniel did. So Daniel, he's iterating over the list of stops. So my only concern is don't call it a stop, right? We have an array, stops, right? And then passenger, you see, that's the same thing, right? So he's removing people going out and adding people getting in. So that's the same thing. And at the end, he's transforming the result into a string. And finally, mo, it's literally the same thing we did. Literally the same thing, right? Reduce, adding, and then converting to a string. Right. So that's pretty much it, guys. Any feeling about the expert? It's complicated, right? It's obviously more complicated than intermediate, but
it's kind of within reach.
yeah, of course. Yeah, it's something that it may take you a couple of weeks to get fully used to that. But just start with the training of experts, sooner the better. Please review this video, try to, on DevTools, solve the problem by yourself. And if you have any question, just let me know.
You have more difficult question than this one question.
We have more difficult question. Is that question or?
It's much difficult than like this one. Which one is this?
Yeah.
This was not so difficult.
Yeah. So some questions are a bit tricky. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Ricardo, can you remind us if we revert to DevTools for solving this, what our hit is? It's on focus, is it?
That's correct. But that's fine. Hey, at some point, you need to sacrifice things, right? Because maybe if you don't sacrifice focus, you should sacrifice speed, right? So it's not the end of the world, right?
My question is on the second to last question.
Yeah.
You started off by saying it depended on how you interpreted the question. Or
Yeah.
how you read the question.
No. So the thing is, sometimes these solutions are valid because they solve all the problems on the left-hand side. But sometimes we should be aware that our solutions could be stronger than in other times. So in other words, will our solution work if we change the questions on the left-hand side, right? Because we cannot cover every single scenario, so we need to sacrifice cases, right? For example, with someone this morning, you remember, we have an array of 3 elements, and someone was particularly inspecting element number 0, element number 1, and element number 2. So this is not strong enough because the test passed because for this particular question we have 3 elements on the array. That person, he explicitly looked for 3 elements on the array. It worked fine. He got the points, but in reality that's not strong enough because if tomorrow we change the question, so instead of 3 elements on the array we got 4, it won't work, right? Anything else, guys? No? Cool. Anything else, Vala? Richard?
Sorry, I was on mute. So nothing else from me. That's quite revealing, you know, about the recursion and so the way you solve the issues. I'm feeling much more confident for the next third one.
Cool, perfect. Thank you. That looks good. Looks great. So that was it for today.